Under Armour Orlando did not disappoint, and the Florida State Seminoles have some recruiting scoop we need to talk about.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com. This is a late night, Sunday night, Under Armour Orlando edition of Locked On Seminoles. Just a little recruiting scoop. Go into it a little bit more on tomorrow's show on Monday. But right now, there's three players I want to talk about and just kind of mention a few others from the conversations that I had and seeing the video from some of my friends and taking plenty of video myself. I haven't even got back through 30% of it. There's so many different videos I got to go through, but these are the three players. First off, the first kid, open-endedly admit, I didn't know a ton about him before today, but that's why you go see the kids live and in person. CJ Bronaugh from none other than Windermere on the west side of Orlando. Not a program that usually has a lot of kids, Windermere High School, but this kid is legit a track star and a football player. Legit 10.33, electronically timed, 100 meters here just recently, and he also ran 4.41 at Under Armour Orlando. Those are great times. But more importantly, the back pedal, the change of direction, the maturity to listen to Coach Cox, the DB coach there, who's very demanding, but he tells kids what he wants to see, and if they do it, he'll praise them. And he just loved Bronaugh. We talked about him before all the DB drills started, and the kid did not disappoint. He was, in my opinion, the best DB there. Here's the interesting part. As far as a recruiting standpoint on it, CJ is a kid that is open-minded, but Nebraska had jumped on him early, and he committed. Well, LSU, Florida State, Penn State, and several other schools are trying to get him on campus now. And as any Florida State fan probably knows, Coach Coop, Coach Tan, they have reputations. Florida State's got a really good DB room. They're going to be running a real unique defense that's had a lot of success when those guys were at Nebraska. I'm really curious to see if he can get up to Florida State this spring, see where things go from there. They need at least one big-time corner, as I talked about recently on Locked On Seminoles. This would be a great kid. He's kind of off the radar right now. I haven't even looked up his ranking. I highly doubt it's very good because, again, nothing against Windermere High School, but it's not your traditional dominant program in Greater Central Florida. It's not Popka. It's not Osceola. It's certainly not Jones. It's not Edgewater or any of those schools. So Windermere they fly under the radar. Well, to put it mildly, I don't think it matters after today. Everybody liked him. He got MVP for DB, and he earned it. Respectful young man. He's the kind of guy that you want in front of the camera if you're an athletic department administrator, head coach, or anything else. And again, coupled with 10.33 speed and great change of direction, this is a kid that Florida State fans need to go and check out. To spell the last name, it doesn't sound like it's spelled. It's Bronaugh. He told me it's Bronaugh, so I'm just going to go with it. That's what he told me, but it doesn't spell the way I thought it would in terms of the sound. So great kid, and Florida State would do very, very well to flip him from Nebraska. Jarius Rogers on the subject of flips. He's out of Fleming Island. This is a kid that's a defensive end I talked about numerous times. He had some really good moments during the camp. I mean, he still has a long way to go like any other high school kid, but he got held so much. His jersey, like from his belly button down, was ripped off, literally. I don't think I've ever seen that before at Under Armour camp the way he was. I got a picture that's epic. It's hilarious. Really good kid. I think he's a guy that has the ability to probably go about anywhere. He's open-minded, very respectful. So the Syracuse commitment after talking to him didn't shock me as much. He's not like a lot of Florida kids. He's not just, I'm just going to stay down south or whatever. He's going to look at his options. I asked him, okay, why did you commit Syracuse? You're from Florida. And he said he just really liked the coaches and what they could do. The D-line coach he thought was very good, and he believed that he could help him develop. He's very open-ended about it. That's fair. But Florida State's got their new staff in tow now. It's going to take a little time for it to probably grab onto a whole bunch of kids and them to have a really good relationship. but I highly doubt that they're going to struggle to get him back on campus. Fleming Island's on the edge of Jacksonville. It's a few hours away. I expect him to be back on campus based on what he told me. USF was another school that has a chance. Many other schools are still going to come after him, but we'll see how that goes. I think Florida State might be the best suited to get him back on campus and flip him, but he is pretty happy with Syracuse. We'll see, but you can't find many pass rushers like Jarius. He's over 200 pounds. He's 6'5". He is the quintessential long and lean edge rusher that every college coach really needs to have in a recruiting class because you just can't have enough pass rushers. Finally, and this is a kid that I didn't know that he was that interested in Florida State, but again, there's been a lot of coaching changes, so that's why you keep coming to these. Kid that I know well, Canon Pickett. His brother is Booker Pickett at Miami. His cousin is DJ Pickett, now at LSU. Family's got an uncle that played at Ohio State, went on to the NFL, was with the Rams, fastest team on turf. He's seen about everything there is in the sporting world through family members, and he's an offensive lineman that can play guard or tackle. He's been playing left tackle and moves pretty darn good. He doesn't get too overzealous with reaching out and hitting guys and getting over his toes and getting beat with a double move. He's patient, but when he does lay a lick, he certainly leaves a mark. Canon Pickett is one of the more technically advanced kids in the class of 26, and he's just very likable. I can see why a lot of schools are coming after him. I don't know which school it's going to be, but it's the big three: Miami, UF, and Florida State leading the way. I said, probably in-state, and he said, yeah. Well, he didn't even hesitate. So we don't get a lot of those anymore. It's kind of ironic. When I was growing up, there were a ton of them, but Florida State is in the midst for one of the better offensive linemen in the class of 26. He's at Tampa Bay Tech, and he's from the family bloodlines that you want. So Canon Pickett is a really good football player. I'm curious to see where he ends up signing. So we'll see how that goes. Also of note, just kind of broadly speaking, there were a lot of underclassmen there. There were more than I could possibly imagine discussing in one show, to be honest with you. But Florida State and all these schools, how it works is they get sent the film, they pay a fee for all this stuff, and they get to see the film, the times, and all this stuff. It is super valuable. Just watching it is very helpful for a guy like me. But just as an example, there's a receiver named Tony Brown. He's from the Kissimmee area. He's not at Osceola. He's at the other high school. I can't even pronounce the name of it. But really athletic slot. He had a one-handed grab for a touchdown. That's going to go to Florida State's office. They're going to get to see that. When a slot receiver has deep speed and the hands like that, is probably going to go up the ladder. Kevion Thomas, a kid from Lowndes County in Valdosta, really good-looking 28 kid again, but a big-bodied receiver. I didn't know anything about him. You see him walk out. That's different. That's why these camps are important. The video, the times, all that stuff goes right to them. And there were a ton of linemen that were good. A kid like Chadwick Cannon from Spruce Creek, an interior defensive lineman. Maybe they want to make a run at him. 280, 290 right now. I think he'll be just over 300 pounds when it's all done. We'll see. They aren't recruiting, surprisingly to me, from what he said to me. Brian Harris from Mandarin, a bunch of other schools are now. Florida State was the school he wanted to go to, but there's been a staff change. I don't know what's going on there. That one I need to circle back to at some point. And a school that you might hear Florida State involved with down the road is First Academy in Orlando. It's the new power in the Orlando area. They got multiple D tackles that are really good. CJ McCoy is just one of them. Alex Willis, I really liked. He had a couple great wins as an interior defensive pass rusher. Really good player. Watch out for them. And there's plenty of underclassmen. A kid to really watch out for in the class of 27 is Desmond Malpress. Great kid from Atlantic in Jacksonville. Another kid, again, right down the road from Florida State. Elite athleticism, elite frame. That's the kind of kid you want to see on your roster. We'll see where he goes, but I imagine he'll be a 50 offer kid. And with his personality, it'd be hard to imagine after seeing what I did that he's not. Still got a ways to go with technique, but he has some pretty good moves already. Just needs to be more consistent. Remember the name Desmond Malpress, Malpress. That's going to be a good football player. Tomorrow we'll have a normal show. On Monday, I'm going to break down a little bit more of the Under Armour and talk about some other things that are going on. But once again, thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you again soon.